is brought to you by Black and Brown Exhaustion. We are getting really near through with y'all. Let's get through this next couple of months. That would be a good thing. And now, this is where I sing a song every time. And you would have thought I would have prepared myself for it, but I didn't. But I'll bet you what? I'll bet you we got one. And now, here's a song just like last time when I made it up because I forgot one. And now here they are, your inveterable host, Carlos Kareem. Hey, everybody. Oh, goodness, that was a bunch of gibberish. Well, that air horn lets us know we're here. And we are here for a wonderful, wonderful conversation today under the philosopher's tree. Going to have our second two-peat guest ever, and we'll bring them on in just a short bit. Of course, we got a little bit of things to get through at the top before we do that. Before I say anything else, and before I forget, because I keep forgetting this, you still have until October 30 to fill out your census. If you have not done that, please go and do that. mycensus.gov. My Census 2020. My apologies. mycensus2020.gov. It takes like 2.5 minutes, and everybody counts. Everybody. The courts have made it very clear that your immigrant status has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you fill out the census. And they have also made it clear that we have all the way until the end of the month, in spite of everything that the Trump administration, and in particular, COVID-ridden Stephen Miller, would have us believe. You have until the end of this month to fill out that census. If you have not, please fill it out. Everyone in your home counts. Is there a pregnant person in your house? That's 2 people. Count them up. Count them up. Hey, this Thursday, I believe that's this Thursday. Yes, indeed. This Thursday, I will be doing a bit of storytelling at 7 p.m. in the Pacific time at an event called Telltale. This will be something called Something Wicked. I will be telling a particular story about one of many, many incidents that I have had in my life with the Nazi skinheads. I'm from Colorado, so I grew up there and had those kinds of experiences. If you grew up there too, you know what I'm talking about. Hey, on Sunday, guess what? I'm old as shit. I'm going to be 49 years old. And guess what I would like to do? Celebrate with you. The way that you could do that is going to be a very special Venmo one-on-one celebration. And to do that and get the address, all you got to do is to join and become a patron at the Patreon. Smoke and Mirrors, CCB, Comedy, Culture, and Bullshit. Folks who have done so are Ruthie, Erica, Amber, Aaron, Seth, Lisa, Kristen, Renice, Michael, Natalie, Juliet, Tarika, Tracy, and Venus. And we are going to meet in person in live conversation on Zoom. We would love to see you there. I would love to see you there. I will even let you sing Happy Birthday, provided you do not sing the white version. Another way that you could help us today is if you just share this, share it to your page. You could start a watch party. This is going to be about some elections and some censuses and some why we matters. And so if there's someone in your world who you think this matters to, share it. That would be wonderful. And you can see right below there, there's a Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. I'm not going to get too into that because I do have a second pitch around some election goodies at the end. If you have an extra $5, feel free to drop it. If not, don't worry about it. Lastly, a misspelling on an event that is coming up with my band Wallace, not Wallace. That is not how you spell it. I should have had a second A there clearly. The album is called And We Ride. We are going to release it on October 25th. We have been wanting to release this to you for some time. We have not been able to, given the Rona. What we're going to do is a very special socially distanced live performance. At that performance, we are going to live broadcast that. When we do that, you can purchase said album. That's going to happen October the 25th. Please join me for that. Hello, everybody. How are all of you doing today? Boy, oh boy, the world just keeps doing what it's doing, don't it? Your y'all little president has, as of late, found himself not only declaring himself completely immune to a disease that you cannot become immune to, as far as any science has ever determined, but is throwing hats at his supporters and threatening to run into audiences and kiss everybody. And so what I take from that is that in spite of even being sued around trying to deny rapes that he has committed already, right now, your president has not learned much about consent in the time that he has been in the White House. Hey, before I bring on my guest, we're going to have one more smoke. You all know the rules right around here. We check in with all of our guests because we do know about consent and we know about comfort. And we know that in particular, in this political age of 2020, not every one of the political candidates with whom we have relationship can be sync in places where people are smoking and on screen at the same time. So that means that if you and I are going to do that, this is going to be our last chance to do it for this little bit of an hour. And then we're going to bring our friend on, and then we're going to have some chats. So you feel free to do what you're doing. You're in your home, especially if you are in one of the places where it's legal. If you're someplace where it's illegal, then allegedly do it too. And now I don't know anything about it. I do not consent to, nor am I aware of that part of this conversation having been recorded. Allegedly. That's how leftists defend ourselves, the way that Trump does with the AG. Well, coming up today, a friend of mine of over quarter century of our own lives, and current candidate, last time we were together, was trying to run for the ticket, got the ticket, and is now the Democratic nominee for the chair of Boulder County. Oh, I'm going to mess it all up. Marta Loachamin. I'm going to bring her on, and then we're going to talk about and get the right titles and all the things. There she is. There's the applause. Hey. I am
Hello.
so sorry. Boulder County Commissioner chair? Is that right?
So not the chair, but
God damn it.
At the table of the board of Boulder County Commissioners, yes.
At the board. Hold on. Go away. I'm going to bring you back on. Hold on. Wait. So coming up next, we have somebody who is currently running to be at the table for the board of Boulder County Commissioners, Marta Loachamin, coming up on the show right now. Hey, we're going to erase that.
Hello.
Don't even worry about it. We're going to edit that right out. You know how you edit out things in live streams. How are you? Given
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm very, very tired. Auntie is very tired. I can't lie. This has been an extremely long week, and I have not slept a whole lot, and I can't make any sense of the world right now. How are you making sense of it right now?
You know, I think there's two pieces to that because I'm feeling a little of the same, right? And it's actually only Tuesday. And yet
God.
This media pressure and the conversations and the obviously coronavirus and all these other different pieces and the last 4 years of this current national disaster with an administration who's not supporting community in the country. And let's not forget everything before that has just been exasperated during the last 4 years. Right. I think it's appropriate to say that a lot of us are exhausted. We're tired. It's and so what do we do with that?
Yeah.
There's not really a lot of spaces to do that. And the other piece right now, specifically, and I'd love to hear your experience, but over the last few months, of kind of this new awareness of the racial violence and these inequities and the disparities that we've known about for years and years that are now being brought to attention it's hard to keep responding to the calls of, hey, I want to pick your brain. Hey, talk to you about this. Like, what's your experience? And I think that's, how do we in communities really get an opportunity to address our own grief and our own exhaustion and the toll that it takes to be in racial abuse constantly.
Yeah.
And instead we're put on a platform somewhere to tell our story. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's real, right? Because one of the things about it is this weird idea that we live in this world where the only way the power brokers, which ultimately means white people, very often white men, but very often their power is being reinforced and reified by white women, right, who have their slice of the pie already, and certainly don't want to disrupt it. It gets to a place where we are often trotted out to offer them some sort of absolution by performing some kind of trauma porn for them, and letting them know that yes, it does hurt this much, and maybe if you just watch, then that means you understand, and then you ain't got to actually do anything to shift the balance of power.
Right. Let me comfort you.
Yeah. Let me let you know that it's okay, and maybe your racist grandma wasn't the one, even though I'm positive she was, because if she was a school teacher, she was. I just know that.
Right. Yes.
So yeah, no, it is about how do you balance that doing that right now? Because yesterday I was talking about a little bit about what's been happening in particular with these the cosplaying pretend militias, right? The white supremacist terrorists, and the way that they've been responding to progressive agendas, and in particular to women who are moving forward progressive agendas, you being one of those. How is that showing up for you in the daily in Colorado right now?
What's interesting is, and it's simply because of the digital reality that we're in, the virtual scenario, that I'm pretty isolated.
Okay.
And not necessarily in a good way, because I'm also, trying to run my life and run my business and be a candidate and all these things. And I think more people are feeling that way than what we're really talking about. And I also don't spend a lot of time online and or in social media right now. Simply because I'm busy enough doing all these other pieces. So I feel like I'm a little isolated. It would be different, I believe, if we were just out on the street in events and trying to do our, dinners out and our happy hours with friends and things like that. I feel like it would be a more dangerous situation for a lot of folks than it is right now. Yeah. Even is still, it's a serious situation. So
yeah. Well, we know the terrain, right? I mean, we know the terrain. If as I was suggesting before, like if you've lived in Colorado, and grew up in the area, there's no way that you are unfamiliar with white supremacy, with the practitioners of it. I mean, they're kids we went to school with, they're kids that we were in classes with,
right,
grew into adults, had kids of their own, right? Those kids could very well be 18, 19, 20 years old. They could be Trump voters themselves, and that's the environment in which you're running, right? Boulder very much is like an Austin, right? It's a relatively progressive city surrounded by the state.
Well, that's what I was just gonna add in, because
go ahead.
For people watching, like I'm in Boulder County, so it's a little bit different, but I travel through Larimer County and Weld County for work, and it is, so that's where I feel it, and that's where I'm through and the signs and the different things that are out and cars and trucks and all these types of, that's when for me it's like, oh yeah, like I got to keep moving and I got to get back home. So yes. And because I'm isolated and doing so many things virtually, then it's not in my face all the time, but I can feel it when I'm out and about. And it worked for me for some of my family members who are out in Mesa County. That's a red. And Laramie County. So that's another layer of like our responsibility as parents too, right? We can somewhat see what's happening when they're here right with us, but it's our family members and whether that's our friends that we've chosen as family or whatever that scenario is, that's the time, we have to be, we're waiting and to find out how everybody does day to day. And so I think your question at the very beginning of like, what's really happening today is a really important one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it matters. I mean, we have to give ourselves the room. I think the room and the vulnerability to mourn, right? If we're going to be able to move forward to the places of hope. I think we know right now some of at least what the next hurdle is, and then the real work begins. But we have to give ourselves that space, yeah?
Right. And that's one of the pieces of, I go back and forth and of how do I really go through that grief process? And do I really want to take it? Do I really want to do that with a group of people virtually who I don't know? And I've been invited to some of these conversations specifically, let's talk about anti-racism, let's talk about, but I don't know if I really want to share my personal story in a Zoom room with people that I've never met. I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know what their motivation is. And just as importantly to me personally, I don't know what they're going to do with that.
Yeah.
My story is my story, and I'm not okay with someone who I don't know going out and speaking for me because I have done the work and I am ready to go tell my own story.
Right. And we just saw that, right? With that little mentirosa on what is it, Oprah's book club going on and telling whatever story she felt like telling, right? We see the same thing with, what's her name, Beverly D'Angelo running around talking about white privilege, this, that, and next, and then getting paid out the ass after promising where that money was going to go. And then it's just going in her pocket. So, yeah, I mean, why would you dare to give somebody access to something as precious as your story? I mean, what are we but our stories, right?
Yes. And I think that's the piece of all of our allies and the folks who are coming around, more recently who want to support. And I had an interview actually with one of our local publications today. And I just told them, I said, I want to know where all the people that were marching this summer are. They doing? Where are their signs? What's the action that they've committed to in our local community? Because as far as I can see, there's still work to be done.
Right.
And so how do we do that in an encouraging way, in an uplifting way? And when we're at the point of exhaustion and wear down, that there's not a lot of outlets to talk about and share. And so those are some of the pieces that it's a responsibility that we also carry. And I'm going to take on those responsibilities as long as it's going to be real room for us to also go through that process and not just hold other people's hands or comfort them and help them feel better about where they've been.
Yeah, no, we culturally we've been their nursemaids for more than long enough. It's time for them to stand up, and in spite of whatever we may hear, whiteness is not fragile. It's just not. If it were, we wouldn't be here right now. That's for sure. So what's the race looking like? How's it shaping up? Are you on the same time schedule as the national race?
Yeah, we are literally 3 weeks and like an hour and a half away from first of November 3rd. And I was talking to some folks earlier today, like I've been on this campaign trail just as a community person committed to support and create access and opened some new opportunities. And I've been doing this for 23 months, specifically focused on how do I break a ceiling here in Boulder County in a local election. And I don't talk to a lot of people about this, but for me, after 2016, this girl's just going to sit here no matter what.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful.
In 2016, I mean, just the fear and the trauma and the anguish that I was feeling for myself, for my two boys who are sons of immigrants. They're ELLs. They are like, there's so much. And it's painful to go back to that moment and that night, and then realizing like, what is my responsibility? And I think everybody went through that. Like, what do I do? And there was, if you remember, like the extremes of people saying, well, I'm out of here. I'm moving. I'm not, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And for me, it was this conversation later of saying, you know, what would be kick ass would be to be on the ballot in 2020 and just prove a point that Latinos in our community, specifically for me, are prepared and we're qualified and we're business leaders and we own property. And like, how do we really change the narrative?
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been working on for the last several years, outside of just trying to make sure that my kids are successful and they're safe and they're healthy and they can walk through all of these other pieces of fear and trauma, and now Corona, and, you know, what does that mean to be unemployed and lose your job and things like that, right? All these different pieces that we're all piecing together.
Yeah.
But I remind people of that because a lot of folks 4 years ago said, oh yeah, that would never happen. And we can't sit back right now. And I doubt the folks that are watching this show are those people, but it's like, how do we get to the people that aren't the choir? Like, that's the $1 million question for me. How do we get to the people that aren't already in the room?
Yeah. I mean,
and when we know they're in all, you know, they're facing their own battles.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that, well, for me, I mean, that's just part of it, right? Is that where we find like-minded folks. Certainly there's comfort in a thing like this when you have a political stance that is, I don't know, say not about having a Nazi in the White House for 4 more years. That we're finding ourselves in situations where certainly it's good to find comfort in this kind of a thing. And when folks who sit under the tree with us talk about feeling inspired, to me, I'm always like, well, but do you though? Do you though? Or do you feel a little relaxed, or do you feel a little comforted? Because if you feel inspired, what are you going to do?
Yes.
Let's hear about that.
Yeah, how inspired are you?
Yeah, right. And so, you know, to your question, I think it's the responsibility of, like, we still, many of us who are middle-aged or younger, right? You have parents, you have adults, you have peers, you have peer groups, and getting over any kind of hesitation around engaging around the idea of reminding folk, for me in particular, folk on the left, right, that we are no longer in a place where I am here for your bumper sticker idea about, like, well, you know, I'm not doing the lesser of two evils, so the greater of two evils is okay. I don't understand why is that okay then? Why? But you could stop the worst one. They're both inevitable. One's coming.
Right.
You know, even if you don't want to beg for favors after.
Right. I love that example because I tell people, like, I used to be a school teacher.
Yeah.
And it drove me crazy when I would go by classrooms and I would tell people, like, that poster is not enough That poster on your wall does not absolve you for, whatever the History Month is. Like, let's do some work.
Right.
It's okay to say, I don't know, and I want to learn, and I'm going to do my own work. Don't bring Martita in the room and give a lesson on X, Y, and Z. Like what's our personal responsibility?
Right.
Right. And given these confines that we're in right now, that we have to remember, like, all the conversations we would normally be having right now, like if we were out at happy hour, we'd run into somebody, we'd talk to somebody, we'd even talk to our wait staff who need us right now in a totally different way.
Yeah.
And we'd be checking in, like, what about that census? I appreciate you noted that at the beginning of your show. What about that ballot? Like, what questions do you have, right? And so with everything else going on, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. We're not having all these really critical conversations and these opportunities. And so I feel like that's part of, goes back to that topic of isolation, because it feels like the circle gets even smaller. And the reality of running as a candidate is the circle gets really small from that perspective as well.
Yeah. Well, as we're talking about this, for the folks who are on with us, and I see there are a few folks here with us right now. If you have questions, if you have comments around anything that we're talking about today, feel free to jump in, chime in. I'll put your comments on the screen. I'll try to read them as we're having our conversation. Again, if you just showed up, hi again. And we're under the tree today with Marta Loachamin, who is running for a seat at the table with the Boulder County Commission. What's the commission's job? What is that? If you get on that, what you get to do? Why you want to be part of that?
Yeah. So first, I want to respond to probably the most wanted to know question out there right now. Is the cat's name is Max?
Yes.
Right. My son
I was trying to be all cool with it. Like, the little cute eyes weren't just coming up on the screen. I'm like, this is adorable.
Oh, that's what my son left to college, and that's what he left for me. Anyway.
Yes.
But the other piece is just as important. The commission and county commissioners, and this is like the biggest misnomer, and one of the things that's really been weighing on me from a standpoint of why more people get involved in local elections. There's all these different reasons why, and I've seen it front and center in a way that I had not seen previously. So my eyes are open. But given all of that, like, why don't we have more people, specifically people of color and people from Indigenous communities and Black folks in our communities who are running for office? That's, probably a whole nother conversation, but it is connected to this role of county commissioner, the role of what our elected officials really do. And the commissioners are overseeing budgets, like significant budgets. In Boulder County, it's $430 million. It is a 3-person board of county commissioners.
That's wait a minute. Wait. Shut up.
Yes?
It's 3 people? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I have my whole imagination around you at this table with like 18, 20 motherfuckers trying to figure things out. It's you and 2 people if you win.
Like a regular board.
Wow.
Right? And the board I've been on is like 10 people, 12 people, and it's 3 people, and you're basically the CEOs of the county government. And those 3 people are making all the decisions around public health that obviously we're hearing the most from right now, land use, planning, zoning, housing, human services. Our family resource centers are connected to that budget. Our county jail. We want to talk about police reform.
Listen.
I mean, the major departments in the county. And then the other piece that people don't realize is that commissioners manage and support county employees. In Boulder County, we have about 2,000 Boulder County employees. So that's what the job is. And for me, it's those 2 pieces. And how do I do that work with a experienced lens of equity when we talk about racial violence and the systemic policies that are keeping folks out of access to all of these same resources.
So who bent the commissioner? Who is there an incumbent against whom you're running?
No, so so these two positions, so right now there's 3 positions in Boulder County that are 3 seats, right? 2 of them are term limited.
Okay.
So I have to live in the district, and it's an at-large vote. So I've been working on meeting, which would never have happened even without Corona, 330,000 residents.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So anybody in Colorado watching this right now, share this. Please share it, and also vote and make your voting plan. Figure it out. Figure it out. This is Marta. Me, Marta.
Thank you.
So as you're moving forward with the idea of bringing an applied equity lens and analysis to the work, what does that look like for you, right? What are the kinds of priorities and the weight of priority that you can bring to that as one of 3 potential commissioners?
Right. There's a few different pieces, and here's what I know.
And you're talking to an ignoramus. I don't need a pitch. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. Clearly, 3 commissioners. My Lord.
I mean, I think it's this piece of how do we really engage with community in a way that's different, and it just, it gets tied back to this, like, yes, there's community needs, and yes, there's folks that show up in the hearing rooms. I've been in them, I've sat in them, I've presented in them, I've testified in them. But relative to that 330,000, it's a really small amount of people. And so for me, it's like, how do I use all of my community engagement work and the different places I've been in and the families I've sat with to figure out the same question I asked you a little bit ago, is like, how do we get to the folks that aren't already here? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about resources and programs and opportunities, how can I specifically work on making sure that our local business owners are getting some of our government contracts that would have truly saved small businesses right now during Corona? Small businesses would have had some of these just set, confirmed local government contracts. It would have created security for way more people.
Yeah.
But the process to apply for and submit an RFQ for a state contract is horrendous, right? So those are some of the things that I'll really be able to affect.
All right.
And we'll talk about economic viability, and then of course housing is a huge issue in Boulder County. I'm sure that's not a surprise. City of Boulder, if you don't know this little data point, the average sales price right now in the city of Boulder is $2.1 million.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
That wasn't true when I grew up there.
Right?
That wasn't it. That wasn't it. It's not a working class city anymore. My Lord. 2.5. Wow.
2.1.
2.1. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let me not get hyperbolic.
I don't want you to exaggerate.
Right. Good Lord. Yeah, that is quite a lot. And so what is the, in terms of where you have been facing discovery and or challenge along the way, right? So in terms of challenge up through the race, what did that look like? And what's the difference between that going into a race against another challenger and what you're doing now? Are you up against other folks for the seat again?
Yes, that's such a great question. And I'm a first-time candidate, never ran for office. I had a significant primary. Like when we talked before, the hill was steep. Mm-hmm. I was told by a lot of folks within the party around the area that it was not my turn, that I wasn't ready, that I wasn't experienced enough, that I was too young. Let's see what else. All the different things that they could throw at not just a woman.
Wait. How you gonna be? Okay, look it. We're not gonna talk about how old you are. How you gonna be my peer? And I'm fit to be middle aged, and you too young to do a job. You're, if I'm not mistaken, the president of the United States, last one, not this motherfucker, was younger than we when he became president.
Right.
We're around the age Kennedy was when he became president.
Right. Yes.
How are you too young to be a city commissioner?
There's two pieces of it. One is this, and we're seeing it on a global level right now, like this expectation of what leadership should be. And I had women tell me, like, they just couldn't see me. And I was running against a man in the primary, and I'm running against a man, big surprise here, for the general election, right? We have so ingrained in this country what leadership should look like. And that's been fascinating to me as well. And the way that how we consider experience when it comes to a career or to the workplace. And helping people recognize that my career path, although it's looked like this, is really, really diverse and actually very rich. I didn't ever plan to run for this position for office. So my career path hasn't looked like this, and I'm glad, because I have been in all kinds of different areas. I've met all kinds of different people. I've lived in different countries. All of those pieces are valuable. So how do we get people to recognize that and understand that, and value women for the multitaskers and for the families we raise and for the kids we raise and all these different pieces that are skills and it's talent and to make a budget work and all these different things, right? That's one piece. And the other piece is that challenge of knowing, for me personally in my heart, like, I know that what I'm running about is for the betterment of my community. And I know that I can represent my community for what this actual position is. And I know that banking and finance and my consulting and working for the state and the city and all these different pieces are the skills that are connected. So when you're a candidate, it's like, how do you overcome the strong, loud voices that are telling you no, and then the other voices that we just innately have, right?
Right. The self-doubt, I can't imagine what that feels like, hearing that bullshit again and again, because again, it's just so infuriating to think about the idea that we live in a world that we live in a time in the upside down, where this gross bag of COVID and bigotry is just oozing his putrid bigotry all over everything, talking about how fucking young and healthy he is. This is a 74-year-old man. Right. Now, I'm not trying to like discriminate against nobody's age. You 74 and you vital, do what you do, but that's not young. That's not young. That's just not what young is. This is a one-way escalator. Nobody gets out alive. Nobody gets out alive. It's just baffling to me. And you spoke very clearly to the tyranny of merit, right? The tyranny of merit, false meritocracy, and this idea that it's not your turn. What would, to that person's estimation, what would make it your turn? How many runs or how many turns do you have to have before you're supposed to be victorious?
Right. And I think that's one of the pieces around elected officials. So in the primary, I was running against a current elected official. And so there were people that really felt like that person's already an elected official, so they're more qualified. They've got the experience that's needed. And my response was, I'm qualified from community and those perspectives of what families and everyday people want and need and are looking for, and how these policies that policymakers up at the state or the federal level make I've been sitting with families who've been affected by those for
Right.
years and trying to help them get to resources, because what happens, right, is all the repercussions of these decisions made up at the top with folks that tend to not know what the real issues are and how they're really impact. And so it's a different experience, it's a different skill set, and I'm
It's a
still
whole different skill set.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, they're not ready for you, I don't think, man. I'm telling you, because look at what's her name, Miss White Lady who be up at the Senate with the board, the teacher lady, and she'll break down anybody's budget in half a second, talking about how much you get paid from the bank, and then she'll go through and break it down. She's down with AOC and all the people.
Oh, and I don't know the name.
Yeah, white teacher lady. I am so sorry, people watching. I just don't know white people name. I apologize. She kills me. She my favorite white teacher lady I ever seen, because she does take her unearned and undeserved privileges to make quite evident what those who have been burdened with the additional unpaid labors of a system built on white supremacist patriarchal capitalism end up carrying, right? Many of those which you just spoke to, but in particular, budgeting, in particular, being able to raise children, multiple, one, whatever, by yourself, right? And or with a co-parent who is there as available because of the nature of the way that relationships are set up. Because again, if we're in a system of false meritocracy where we're rewarding male presenting people with jobs and opportunities, not asking them, well, what's this going to mean for your family? What's this going to mean for the da 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 da? Then dudes is going to end up getting jobs. I mean, it's not a complicated thing. And unfortunately, when dudes get jobs, they don't put the money in the right place. Not in the family.
Right.
There's no evidence that they do.
Right. Well, and I think the other piece is that in leadership circles, when you think of, and I look at it from like a business lens, right? Like most major companies and corporations, they hire from within, and it's the people up at the top. Like, no wonder those boardrooms and the executive leadership teams, they all look the same.
And Congress, and I'm guessing the Boulder County Commission up until the point that you show up there.
Yeah. And that's how leadership tends to work, right, in this country. And so that's the shift that has to happen. And the way I've explained it is that, you know, I've been very involved in community in a whole lot of different levels, and broke my way into different boardrooms and done the work. And I've spent my time raising my hand as the only person at that table. And all those experiences, it's very clear that boardroom and us as community members have to come together.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So I was really clear about why and what that was, and the reason why it's so important. And then the next question that, and you and I have already kind of talked about a little bit, is that the ask is going to be, people have to stay engaged.
Yeah.
Have to stay engaged, and they have to participate, and have to figure out where they're going to fit into all of this, because even after November 3rd, like wake up November 4th, I hope you get some rest that night, because the work's going to need to continue.
Ooh, Hunty, it's going to be a mess. Listen, let me tell you something. Between November 3rd and January 21st, it's about to be a mess in this place. Y'all, we got work. We got work.
Yeah.
And then the idea of those of y'all who have found yourselves in positions of government, you're going to have to reverse engineer all of this mess that this monster has been reverse engineering for the last 4 years. I mean, the first thing he did was take apart the epidemiological center. First thing. We don't need this. There's no epidemic happening. Let's burn this umbrella while we're at it. In fact, where's my winter coat? Can we throw that in the shredder? What is this man doing?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
It's everything. I mean, it's climate, it's humanity, it's people. I mean, if you think about, and that's why, you know, it's hard to do, but I have to keep asking people, like, hang on, we need to have, if you don't remember, if you're on the fence right now about how you want to vote, you're not sure if the election's important, you're not sure if you want to run down from the bottom of the ballot to the top, let's have just a quick little conversation about everybody that was attacked. What's happened to our trans community, our LGBT community all over this country, and what's happening to women's rights. Hello.
Break it down.
I'm not gonna tell you what to do. But I am gonna tell you that it's my body and it's my choice. And if that's not enough, like, do you not have a mother or a sister or a good friend that happens to be a woman who wants to make her own decisions? I mean, there's so many different pieces that for me, it's like, do we really have to talk about this? And maybe we do, and just have some friendly reminders about the anguish and the pain and the torment. Because our youth are the ones that are paying the heaviest price. I can't imagine raising young kids right now. I can't imagine being a young person in this country right now. So for all of those different reasons, wow, yeah, call your friends and find out if they need you to help them get their ballot to the right place.
That's it. And depending on where you live, make sure you're filling out your ballot the right way, right? Because that's the other trick they've been doing. They got little secret envelopes and a naked envelope and an envelope that you got to sign, and use your good signature. Don't use your bullshit signature. You can't use your coffee house signature for the ballot because they'll invalidate that shit. Don't do that. Don't do that. You got to use the good one. The one on your license. That's your signature. Put that one on there. There's
so many pieces, and these attacks on, it's truly voter suppression. And it's disappointing that people aren't using the terminology and or just don't know the history enough to really connect what's happening with where we've been. And when you take a county from 18 to 1 ballot drop box, Texas, that's horrifying. And so to be labeled as progressive by creating ballot options for drop off is really disappointing. I mean,
it's wild. We so far from the left. We so far from being able to get to a left. We're actually fighting about whether or not democracy should be democracy. You know what I'm saying? This dude the other day who was talking about, I don't know if every vote should count, pop, pop, pop. That's never been the way it is. That's not new. That's the Heritage Foundation motto. They've been running that shit since like 1985. They've been planning for this very moment. If your vote didn't count, they wouldn't have been working to suppress that vote since 1985. If you're one of the 90s babies, they've been working to suppress your vote since a decade before you was even born, y'all. Come on now. They're not trying to take, why are they trying to, nobody want to take nothing from, white people don't want nothing to take nothing from you that isn't valuable. If it's valuable, they want it. If it's garbage, they're going to let you keep it. That's how come we all get to have all the video games the fuck we want. I mean, I love video games. Video games are great. Don't get me wrong. But that's not, but the reason we have access to all these things that are entertaining, Facebook, YouTube.
That are entertaining and owned by, those certain people that are controlling what's given out and what's not given out.
And in this particular place, let's be very clear, right? This is platformed on something that is owned by Zuckerberg that if it ever had a wide enough audience would be shut down in half a second. So as long as we're still under the radar, keep spreading the word with each other, because this is where we have time for movement and places for movement.
Right. And that, I feel like, there's that right there is what's been under attack for a really long time, right? This control of the way that we communicate with each other to really make change. And we've seen it in different ways before social media, right? And even then, back in the early 90s, we were feeling that pressure of like, okay, something's off. Like there's people out there, and the same way they're out now. I had somebody literally the other night pulling off my Biden sign off of my fence.
See, I'm telling you.
And it's so it's just the small things, but they're also all over the place of people who are going to control, who feel like it's their duty to control what. Nope.
And it's nothing new.
To think about it. I'm going to ask you to do some research. I'm going to ask you to just look at the facts, because science is okay too. The fact that that's even an argument is shocking that more people aren't.
I mean, and you didn't see it, but the runner, the beginning of the show has a runner joke on the screen, and it was asking today. It was like, just imagine being in a corner where you're having to back a candidate and actually cheer and root against science and facts and the news and the First Amendment. Like, all this talk about the Second Amendment, I'm like, why are the Democrats such punks at this? Why are y'all so bad at this? Not you, because I know you knew. But, like, come on now. There's a whole nother amendment before the Second Amendment. We could be having a whole conversation right now.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, I'm glad you're in the fray, because listen, I couldn't do it. I still remember, like, you were talking about things that we had done in the 90s and that idea of getting doxxed. I talked about that a little bit yesterday. I finally framed that what are you going to do about him threat that them white people had put all over the university.
Wow.
I found it in my files and framed it on my wall, because I was like, nah, Auntie Angela taught us what to do when that happened. That means you're making a difference. And so I haven't framed a degree. I have no intention of it, but that goes on the wall. That's, we got to let them know. And I'm glad that you're in this fray. So what do people need to know about being able to support your candidacy at this point, Coloradans? And if folks are not in Colorado, what do they need to be knowing about looking up and down the ticket as they're preparing for their votes?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things, just for folks that aren't in Colorado, like, it's doing your homework, like doing the research, taking the time, and I think it's okay to just have these conversations with folks that that you're going to be on a Zoom conversation with anyway, and just say, hey, I'm really stuck on this proposition, or I'm hearing two different things, because the media is going to get even louder and the ads are going to get even nastier in the next 3 weeks. And so, like, we have to just pull out of that and talk to someone that's rational and, like, reasonable. And it doesn't mean we're even going to agree, and I'm okay with that. But I just want to hear the real facts, right? So that's what you need to be doing with your ballot initiatives. And I will say this, the primary on June 30th, the first reading at 7:03 p.m. was a difference of 15 votes. So when people say to me, like, oh, I'm not worried about, like, it doesn't matter, I get that feeling right now, because we don't have the national popular vote for sure yet from a national election. But in your local community, that is how serious you going from the bottom of the ballot all the way up to the top is. That's how serious, when you talk about these different tax reforms and the different changes of, whatever your issue is, because it's different state to state, right? So that's what I would say to folks who are outside of our area here. And for folks who are here in Colorado, in Boulder County, the website's marta2020.org. And it's, you want to throw a little bit of money at the campaign, because we are going to be doing, we have to do some more media pieces in the next few weeks. But it's just sharing out. It's kind of like what you said about your show. Like, that's the beauty of using someone else's platform.
Yeah.
Get to other folks. And so that in itself is significant. It's helpful. You can jump on. It's at Marta for BOCO, and just share those out, because those that, this, those algorithms, and it's there for a reason. So we have to use what's there. And we have to be using all those to our advantage and to work for us as well. So those are some of the pieces here. And I would just say, like, we've got to come up with the energy today and tomorrow and the next 3 weeks. And we have to be reaching out, and we need to be checking in on our colleagues of work that we're not seeing day to day right now because of the situation, because we are not all okay.
No.
We all need to be supporting each other in ways that we never maybe considered. But
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest that you call out to your network, even if it's a mass text, because that's the capacity you have tonight. That's enough. But you have got to call in and check on your people, because we are not okay. And we need love. We need encouragement. We need comfort. We need that. Yes, get to the census, get that done. It's a responsibility. Yes, you've got to vote, but we also need to be checking in on everybody for all these other reasons as well.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's that simple, y'all. That's why we have to be paying attention and following the leadership of the most impacted. And that always, 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 always means black and brown women. Will always mean indigenous women. I'm so thankful to you for putting yourself in a position. It's a lot. It's a lot. And while I know you hear the call from your ancestors, from your community, to do the thing, I am calling on community, and in particular, for the male presenting members of that community to really, really show up, right? Show up and show out. I mean, this is the time to turn things around. We've seen what the impact has been of voting down ticket, even on the discussions that happen on the Senate floor. That's been drastically different. You know that if you want to find yourself in a situation where most sheriffs, most attorney general are elected positions in this country if you look down ticket. And so if you're about trying to see prison abolition, if you're about trying to see prison reform, you better start looking down ticket and understand that your future candidates for Senate are folks like Marta, who end up running for local state house after winning this kind of an election and making an impact. And so I hope between everything that both of us have been talking about, that y'all gonna make some kind of a plan to get somebody to vote and to fill out their census. Help your abuelita, help your tia, help your mama, help your daddy, whoever's stuck on it. Help them out. Help them out. Is you could do it from the phone. Don't even got to fill out paper no more.
Yeah.
Do it all kinds of ways. I'm gonna let you go. I know it's about that time. One thing you're doing to take care of yourself right now. What's one thing you're doing this self-care that we can let these people know about that you're doing that's been making a difference with all this bullshit?
That's tough. Super simple. I was meeting with a client yesterday in the early evening, and she said to me, she said, "Can I give you a plate of food to take with you?" She knew I was going back to go do some more campaign. I had a campaign forum last night. And just that for me, just to accept that gift and say, yes, thank you. That can be hard for folks to accept. And so that's what I've been practicing, like this, and amazing folks that have shown up in this during my candidacy. Like that has been the biggest gift of self-growth for me, and also a way for me to be part of community, because I've spent years and years giving and giving, and I will continue that, but to feel that difference piece. And so I would encourage people to, if someone, if I just told everybody to call out. So if someone calls you and says, "Hey, are you okay? What do you need?" Then the responsibility for those folks is to say, "Here's what I need," and accept it.
That's real.
And I want to make sure that we don't end before I say happy birthday to you. Here you go. I hope you have a fantastic party, and thank you for bringing these conversations together. It's so important. So important.
For sure. Yeah. No, I mean, trapped. We're here. We're home. And even within that, trying to find ways to again be inspired, which I hope is a craft that is an applied craft, right? It's a thing that we have to do. It's not just a thing that we feel. Much like love, it's a you've got to make that a verb and take it into action. So,
yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for spending this time today. If there's anything else as we draw closer that we can do here at Smoke and Mirrors. If there are other candidates or the discussions that we need to be having, if you're interested in doing any kind of a ballot watch or whatever, let me know. We'll figure it out. And beyond that, certainly we will do everything that we can to continue to support folks. It's Marta 2020. Is that right?
Yeah.
For donating. Okay. And that's dot what?
Org.
Marta2020.org. One more time, folks, give it up for Marta Loachamin for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Be well.
Yeah, you too. And you're welcome to hang out or dip. I'm going to, whoops, I went too far in the show. I'm going to close out the show. Do whatever you have to do for that self-care. I know how it is these days.
Okay. Take care.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Folks, that's how we do it. We try and bring the real, and sometimes it's super funny, and sometimes it's super topical, and sometimes we just got to get into it. And this is one of those times. I don't know if between the two of us during that conversation, we were able to express clearly enough how much we need for each and every one of us to be involved and to help each and every one of us to be involved. And I hope that this has helped you. Please make sure that you're looking at your local candidates, your local election, that you're looking down the ticket as well. Your local government are the ones who actually control the funding, the resources, the allocations. And please, please, please make sure that you fill out your census. mycensus2020.gov. I'm telling you, it's going to take you 2 minutes, maybe three. Hey, you know what also? Marta's gone, so we can be naughty again. Let's take one more hit before we get out of here. Let's pack the bowl. That would be the thing to do. Otherwise, you can't take the hit. I thought I was going to be slick. Evidently, I already smoked that. I hope I didn't smoke when I was in... No, I didn't. I was paying attention. I was being good, girl. It makes a difference, too, if you have the opportunity to be in touch with folks who you've been in touch with for a period of time around this to keep rallying, right? Like, I know we both had some things to say about the pantsuit moms and the kitty cat head people and the BLM protesters who seem to have gone back home in many cities, not here in Portland. And that we need you to stay involved and stay active, and we mean it. It's those critiques are a call in, not a call out. Also a call out if we can't get you back in. I don't know what to tell you, but we need you. We need your vote, and we need you to vote the right way, which in this case is to make sure that we are not all living in neo-fascist Nazi Germany circa 1942 in the next 3 weeks plus 2 months. Please vote. Please do the things. That sounded like I took helium. Hey, speaking of voting and being free and doing all the things, we need you to free the vote. Would you be willing to help the people of Florida, the formerly incarcerated of Florida, regain their right to vote? Any dollar amount that you would have dropped to me, if you don't want to drop that to Marta 2020 because that seemed a little too much to you, maybe you could instead go to wegotthevote.org and drop a dime to help some folks who've been formerly incarcerated be able to reserve their right to vote by not having voting polls get in the way of their ability to make that happen. That is wegotthevote.org/free-the-vote/ and you can get more information about that and what it is and all the things. And this has been another episode of Smoke and Mirrors. We've done it, children. We're at the end again. That's it. Another day has passed. We'll be back again tomorrow. But until then, if you would like to, you can find pictures of the stuff that we do here and other things that are like it at the IG at Smoke and Mirrors CCB. You can see words that are said by myself in the script form at Caballo Negrito. Do you have an idea for a person, place, or thing about which we should be talking? Do you have a critique, a comment, a suggestion? Please drop a line to us at Smoke and Mirrors CCB at Gmail. Before I let you all the way go, I want to remind you that if you would like to be at the birthday party, it's going to be on Sunday. All you got to do is become a patron of Smoke and Mirrors, which you can do at Smoke and Mirrors CCB. Any and all levels of patron will be welcomed to that party. You got a buck, chuck in a buck, we will get you there. The important thing is building community. And I want to let you know that the reason that we would like you to take care of yourselves and take care of each other, to wash your hands, to stay inside, and if you do go outside, to please, please, please wear your mask, to fill out your senses, to remember to vote, is simply because we love you. This is an event that is produced and hosted by myself, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. It is also produced by Tracy Tatamy, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.